Boston. I'm sitting at JFK Airport next to my friend Philip, my roommate for the last 8 weeks, while we're in Uganda for a service learning program. Philip is on his way back home to Atlanta, while I'm on my way to Boston for training for a job in U.S. public interest, specifically healthcare advocacy. And again, I hear Delta Airlines flight to Austin. Stop tempting me! See, I grew up in Texas, and I went to school in Austin. And while I didn't feel homesick the whole summer being in Uganda, at this moment, going to Austin sounded like the most wonderful thing in the world. Delta Airlines flight to Boston, last call, gate closing. Oh shit, they've been saying Boston. I hug Philip, I grab my stuff, and I run onto that plane. As I'm settling into my seat, I look around. And I realize that I'm alone for the first time in 2 months. Sure, I'm on a plane full of people, but for the last 2 months I was traveling around with 20 of my friends at all times, all together, but now here I am with strangers. And I feel like I'm going further away from home and further away from my home in Africa. Finally, I make it to Boston and I get to my hotel room. This room is twice as tall as any room in any building in Uganda. And I walk into the room and there's a couple things that just hit me. We had hot water, I had a working flush toilet, and there was a bed with no mosquito net. So first I go to the water, into the sink, and I turn it on, and abundant hot water just keeps coming out hot the whole time. And then I collapse in the bed for a few minutes, and again, looking around, no mosquito net. Don't have to worry about malaria. But the most amazing thing about that hotel room was the flush toilet. In Uganda, we had a flush toilet for 2 days. Here, I could flush that toilet again and again and again, and it just kept on flushing. So I was soaking this in, but I realized I had to get back downstairs. The training was going on, and there was one last training for that day. So I went down there and joined them, but then as everyone was leaving, a bunch of people were shouting different things. We're going to Shakespeare in the Park! We're going to the art museum! And I'm just thinking, well, I'm going to bed. But I get to the elevator, and I kind of get a little whiff of myself. I kind of smell like a mix between an airplane bathroom and an African latrine. I need to get some more toiletries. So I leave the hotel, and I look around outside. And I notice there's no street vendors. There's nobody grilling chicken or frying samosas. And then I see the little green guy, and I realize, oh, okay, crosswalk. Okay, I can cross the street. And I'm looking around as I'm crossing the street and realize there's no bikes, there's no boda-bodas, motorcycle taxis, and I can just cross the street without worrying. The whole time I'm still kind of looking around, wondering, where are these? And I make it to the store that's across the street, and a couple of other trainees are walking in at the same time as me. So we get to talking, but I couldn't tell you a word that they said. The whole time I'm focusing on this aisle next to us that has at least a dozen different types of peanut butter. In Uganda, we had 3 types of peanut butter. One that just vaguely said it was somewhere from the Middle East, and it also proudly proclaimed that it contained less than 1% ash. Now, I didn't investigate the peanut butter in the store in Boston, but I can guarantee you none of them contained any ash. But as if it was a reflex, again I yell, "Why do we have so many kinds of peanut butter?" And I realize the people around me probably think I look kind of crazy. So I excuse myself, I say goodnight, and I decide to do what I normally do when I'm overwhelmed. And I had Cocoa Puffs for dinner. The next few days are a blur. I have a mix of insomnia, jet lag, and culture shock. I think we all know what jet lag is. It's where your body thinks you're in a different time zone than you really are. But I think culture shock is when your head and your heart also think you're in a different time zone than you really are. So I'm going to bed really early, and I'm getting up really early as well. I'm sleeping about 4 hours a night, and I have a pounding headache, and my body feels like it's going to fall apart at the seams. So I'm going through these training sessions, and only one really sticks out in my mind. We get in a circle, and the guy leading this training session says, "We're going to do storytelling as a tool of advocacy. You all graduated from some of the best universities in the world. Why are you here?" So I sit there. Why am I here? I mean, I believe in healthcare. I believe in a lot of domestic causes. But my undergraduate degree, my last summer, everything I've been doing has been geared towards Africa and international relations. I don't know why I'm here. But finally I tell him the story of my mom. And my dad died when I was 11, and my mom, despite having a really thick accent and being a recent immigrant, was able to keep a middle class lifestyle for us. And she was able to get healthcare for me. but she was never able to pay for health insurance for herself. I finished the story, kind of tearing up a little bit, and his response is like everyone else's story. Okay, thanks. Next. It was just an activity, just a training exercise. He didn't care what we had to say. And again, I felt very far away from home. The next morning, I realized my phone is dead and I need a new charger. I make my way to the AT&T store and realize it's 9:30, the store doesn't open until 10. But next door there's a Borders. I walk inside, and I think we all gravitate to a certain section of a bookstore. For me, it's the Africa section. So I make my way over there, and I start seeing books about the Civil War in Sudan, and AIDS throughout the continent, and apartheid in South Africa. And I feel like I'm home. You know, depressing topics, this is home. And I grab a book that's about Rwandan genocide, and I start cradling it. And again, looking crazy this week, but just cradling this book as if I had Dorothy's ruby slippers. And I start going, there's no place like home. There's no place like home. There's no place like Africa. So I knew what I had to do. I bought that book, I rushed out of the store, finally got my charger. In the first place I saw an outlet, I plugged it in, got my phone charged, and called my mom. I'm coming home.